I had lived next to a disc golf course for the last 7 years, and I always wondered what the baskets were. I knew it was disc golf. And so when my friends asked me, I was like, heck yeah, I've been wanting to do that forever. And now I have time because I was forced to slow down with COVID. I feel like I've seen this meme a lot where you see like the Innova starter pack and then like someone going out and disc golf and everything. And then that's me, right? Everyone starts out that way. You get your starter pack on Amazon, you go out, you don't know what you're doing, and I lost the disc right away. And I was kind of like, I just paid for that disc. Like, no wonder why there's a business around, making discs and stuff like that. I was like, now I have to go get another one. I literally threw it once. And so then I was like, well, I just spent all this time building a sim rig and everything. I bet you I could figure out how to create a frisbee or a disc, right? And little did I know how complicated that actually was going to be.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome back to another episode of BINDLISM, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. It's good to be back. It's been a little while since I've done a solo interview, and I'm excited to bring this one to you. This is episode 66. I sat down with Jason Guararra, the owner and founder of Noob Simhouse Custom Discs, or NSH Custom Discs for short. Jason is a technologist at heart, and he essentially created his own 3D disc manufacturing company during the pandemic, and they are PDGA approved. So for anyone who doesn't play disc golf, the PDGA is it's similar to the PGA. It's the overarching organization that makes disc golf a legitimate sport. He was able to, in 1 year, make 3D printed discs that are approved to be used in professional tournaments. This is a insane feat, and I just really was so excited to pick his brain on how this was even possible. How I got introduced to Jason was actually he became one of the whole sponsors at the disc golf course that I just created with Drew Shoup at Snow Ridge called Ridge Runner Disc Golf Course. For anyone who doesn't play disc golf, I'm sure it's not something that's on your radar, but he is a whole sponsor, and that's how we got partnered up. Kind of been shooting the shit a lot lately and figured why not share his story. So let me just get right into it. Jason's a great dude. He has a really interesting story, and I'm really excited to share it with you all. So without further ado, here's episode 66 with Jason Guararra. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to BINDLISM. We are here with Jason Guararra
Lots
for
of
episode
R's, lots
66.
of A's.
Jason is the owner and founder of Noob Simhouse Custom Discs. He's actually a course sponsor of Ridge Runner, which is the disc golf course that I mentioned in the last episode. Just been a big project that I've been working on this last year. But Jason and I have been kind of talking a bunch on Instagram over the last, I want to say, 3-ish months. Just about disc golf and him being a sponsor of the course. And, we got talking and thought, why not have a podcast? So here we are. Jason, if you want to kind of introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit more about you than just being the owner of Noob Simhouse. I'm sure you got more to you than that.
Yeah, there's, I suppose, a lot to me. I'm also a solutions architect, pre-sales for Cisco Networks. I also am a registered nurse. I'm a father, husband, dog dad, right? So there's a lot to me. I also I used to brew beer a lot, but now I haven't actually drank since last April. So a little over a year of not drinking. That's actually kind of what started this whole thing, me not drinking and losing weight. And now I'm out doing more activity, and disc golf is one of them, right? So it's all about doing the things you love.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So tell me, I know like you said that the whole project that you're working on, your business, is new because you're new to disc golf itself. So just so people can kind of wrap their heads around like what it is that Noob Simhouse is, like, do you want to just explain like what the business is and why it's so exciting?
Well, Noob Sim House itself is just as new as the discs and everything else. It all kind of started during the quarantine. Originally, it was a way I had stopped drinking. I wanted a sim race, and I couldn't sim race without drinking and driving. Just doesn't really work when you're driving like NASCAR, Formula One cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, let's stop drinking. And if there was a race seat on the internet, I was going to build a sim rig. So I built the sim rig, and I'm a noob to sim racing. I've never done it. I sim race in my house, and I like house music, so it all kind of fit together. So it was just kind of a way of throwing, what I like together. And then it's also a way for me to just have the brand name to be really a technology explorer, because really that's all I am, right? I've always been into sci-fi and science, and I've always taken science courses and programming classes and just different things in school for fun. I've always just tinkered outside of work for fun. And so I just figured it would be an outlet for me during COVID to explore technology and just kind of have fun with it. I've always been notorious for not being able to like create characters or pick names and things like that in games. So just went with Noob Sim House. I know it's a mouthful. So that's why for the disc portion of it, I call it NSH custom disc. It's a lot easier. You could just call it NSH for short. I label a lot of my discs that way too, NSH. And really, after I lost weight, I did the racing for about a year. My buddies wanted to lose weight too. And so they actually invited me to play disc golf.
Oh.
And I had lived next to a disc golf course for the last 7 years. And I always wondered what the baskets were. I knew it was disc golf, but I didn't know more than the name disc golf or anything like that. And so when my friends asked me, I was like, heck yeah, I've been wanting to do that forever. And now I have time because I was forced to slow down with COVID.
Right.
I think I am the typical meme that you see out there. I feel like I've seen this meme a lot where you see like the Innova starter pack, and then like someone going out and disc golf and everything. And then that's me, right? Everyone starts out there. You get your starter pack on Amazon, you go out, you don't know what you're doing. And I lost the disc right away.
Oh, no.
And I was kind of like, I just paid for that disc. Like, no wonder why there's a business around, making discs and stuff like that. I was like, now I have to go get another one. I literally threw it once. And so then I was like, well, I just spent all this time building a sim rig and everything. I bet you I could figure out how to create a Frisbee or a disc, right? And little did I know how complicated that actually was going to be. And I've never been one to give up. I thought I could do it, and I did. That's pretty much what happened. I literally sat in my room. Instead of learning how to play disc golf, I sat here for months trying to print over and over, sleepless nights, disc after disc after disc, 1 micrometer change, just to see if that would print 24 hours, for a single change, out in the field, just throwing them here and there. And that's really just me being out in the field prototyping and testing all the discs out, is when I really started to meet the people around, and they started introducing me to like, hey, why don't you come play at our clubs and stuff? And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a real sport. And so I started really investigating that, and I just got sucked in. I am a very addictive personality, and so disc golf's my new alcohol. That's how I look at it, right? So I'm 100% addicted to disc golf. Not only did I come up with 1 disc in my madness, I came up with 8 styles. And I don't look at myself as being a competitor to any of the manufacturers that are currently out there, because they've all been in the industry for a long time. They all make great drivers, putters, mid-ranges. They go far. And I'm not trying to mess with that formula or anything, but I feel like as a new player, there's so many of those options out there. There's honestly, finding out that there's like 5 manufacturers, don't quote me on the numbers, right? But 5 injection molders making for like 12 different companies, right? A lot of these discs are all the same disc, just renamed, right? Yeah. And so me as a new player, it kind of just was like, well, whether you get a Discmania disc or an Innova disc, that same disc they both have it. And then, I can't necessarily shape that disc to go one way. So I decided to make actual discs to move for me. So you sprinkle in a couple of my discs to do some of those trick shots as a new player that you can't do that the pros can do. And now you're able to make it around that tree better. And now I could throw 250, I could throw 300 feet. And, my discs in the hands of pros, man, they go far and it looks great. I love the way they look when other people throw them besides me.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. What was the time period between your first round and then you being like, I'm gonna start making a disc?
As soon as I lost it that night, I came home and started working on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
awesome.
literally came in my room, working on my computer, the first few discs, I picture myself kind of like, a kid drawing circles, and, I'm trying to figure out how to fix this circle into the square hole, right? And then just clunky building blocks. And my first few discs, people kind of give me crap now about my disc kind of being ugly because they look melty or whatever it may be. But man, you should see the first versions if you didn't like those. And man, those were really crazy. And honestly, I had all these discs at my house, and I woke up one morning and I'm like, I just spent months figuring out how to make these discs. And what did I do all this for? I had no idea why I even did it. And then I was like, you know what? I need to see if I could get these PDGA approved and work with the PDGA, because, if I can't get these PDGA approved and have these be legitimized, there's no point in me have done any of this, right? So I went through the process. I talked with Jeff Homburg. He's the head of technical standards at the PDGA. I was an epic failure. I failed many times, guys. Like, it was not easy. It's not like you just submit a disc and it's done, right? There's a process. It took me a while. It took months. And when my first disc got PDGA approved in April, man, that was like one of the biggest accomplishments of my life. I feel like that's so awesome. So
Incredible.
I'm so happy. I take it. I've had conversations with other people along the way, how, like, them seeing me do this stuff, like, they've tried to do some of their own like dreams and stuff. So, I take this seriously, and I know, like, some people look up to me, and, some people think of me as a weirdo. Some people think of me as a, enemy, all this stuff. I've seen it all since I started. It's kind of surprising, right? But I love it. I'm here for the long haul. I hope I set myself up so I think I can't go out of business. It's kind of like disc on demand. So if you guys want them, I'll make them. If you don't, I'll use them myself. That's fine.
No, that's so cool. As someone who also got into disc golf during quarantine, it's so crazy that, like, I was sitting here thinking, wow, I'm the only person who went 0 to 100 with disc golf and doing my project. I mean, all right, building a course is something on its own. It's like very different than doing your own disc manufacturing, which I feel like are both
very
equally as good. Yeah, they're just different.
They're both very
epic in their own ways. It's just so cool to connect with someone who did something similar with the same sport and in such a short amount of time. It's just, I don't know. There's something special about disc golf that I haven't really seen in many other things, and
I agree.
Possible to go 0 to 100 and be considered, in the industry, like, people are noticing like what you're doing.
But you got to remember, it's not just because you're new doesn't mean you're not good at something, right? Like,
that's fair.
Because we're coming on a year now. Like, you got to think, I started making discs last year this time, right? So now I've been making them a year. Like, many people nowadays can't commit to something for a week, let alone a year, right?
That's
like,
very true.
so I consider myself an expert of plastic, and I'm a modern blacksmith, and discs are my weapon, and here we go, right? Like, let's go play.
I have a friend who does 3D printing stuff, so I'm semi-familiar with kind of the processes and stuff. But, like, prior to disc making, were you making other stuff 3D printing, and so that kind of built your kind of skill set to do that in the first place?
It was, but not for a job. It was that, again, was strictly just me being a technology explorer, right? I've always been at the bleeding edge of technology. I'll get the beta versions. I'll try everything out. I love it, right? I've been in VR since the beginning, right? It's just, everything is technology, and the age we live in now is just so cool. And humans with technology just combined is even better, So it's like, I got my first 3D printer 6-7 years ago. I built it myself because no one knew anything about really 3D printing, 7-8 years ago. And I got it on a whim. I was at a EDM show. It was like 3 a.m. I was a little bored. I didn't think I liked the set or something. And I was like, you know what? I'm just doing this 3D printer. It arrived a few weeks later. And I spent like 2 days building it. I really got that originally to do cosplay costumes because me and my wife like to cosplay and go do some Comic Cons and things like that. So for props, things like that, things around the house, toys for kids, it's just all for personal benefit, nothing really to try to start a business or anything. So
That's awesome. So do you feel like you just excel in that stuff anyways too? Like I know like even just
I don't ever think I've always think I've picked stuff up very quickly, right? Like I've never had to study in school and got straight A's sort of situations. I've actually, if I would apply myself more in school, I'd probably be smarter than I am. Let's be real. But it's just like when you're a kid, you don't really understand. Like the opportunities I realize now that I missed out on. But just when it comes to technology and art and being crafty, I guess it's just, and thinking outside the box, I guess I've just always been good that way. But I pick things up quickly. I'd say I'm a quick learner is the best way of putting it.
So I've had the privilege of throwing a couple of your discs when we kind of how this whole connection started. For anyone who isn't familiar, my buddy Dylan reached out to you about your glow, your like
solar lights.
The solar lights, which we still have hanging on the front 9 of our course currently. That's how kind of I got introduced to you. He said, I found this dude who's making 3D printed stuff like discs, and he also sells these solar lights. And that's
the lights were free. I don't even sell those. That was free.
And then we were just like, well, what the hell? Like, we're looking for sponsors. Might as well just reach out. So you sent out a couple discs to him, and we ended up giving them away as prizes at our first tournament. But I just remember like the first time I held, I think it was the Mr. Putt was the first one I actually like held and I tried to throw. And I had no idea what I was about to throw. I was just like, this is so like weird in a good way. I was just like, what is this? Like, this is PDGA approved. This is wild. And I threw it and I was like, holy crap, this thing's so overstable. Like, this is like revolutionary to me just because of like what it is as a disc. And I just remember talking to him and just being like, dude, this could like really change disc golf. And both him and I are new to disc golf too, so like we both started in like the summer of 2020, so we're just as new into it as you are. And I think just seeing that and being like, wow, we're like on this weird cusp of like this sport blowing up and there's things like this happening. But I think the response was great. Like the people who ended up winning the discs were super stoked on it.
Good.
I saw them like throwing them around on the course and they were just like definitely bagging them. So it was
that's actually the response, the same thing you to people touching them, feeling weird, throwing it. That's how I got my first customer. I was actually prototyping the Swede, and I was at Emerald Park. It's a local disc golf course here, and the memorial happened to be going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a lot of the pros and people were practicing there before their round or in the middle, I don't know. But some people started throwing my discs, some of my prototypes there, and were like amazed how light they felt, but yet how far they flew. And one guy like literally just was like, oh, this ain't gonna fly, and tried to throw it. He threw it on like a huge Anheuser, and because it was overstable, man, that thing flew and came right back. And he was like, oh man, do you sell these? And I'm like, no, but I will. So I sold my first 2 Swedes to that guy. He's my first customer. I wrote him a letter when I shipped them. They're not PDGA approved, but he's the first. He's got one of 4 original Swedes ever created. So
which is awesome. Those will probably be worth money somewhere down the line.
Meeting people like that and just having them love my discs is just, it's what's brought me to this point, right? The only reason why I've even been able to give you money to even sponsor anything is because people have been buying my discs, right? So
proof of concept right there. Which is awesome. And so like it was definitely a no-brainer for us. Like, I could reach out to a Prodigy disc or Innova of the world, but nothing against them being a sponsor of anything, but just for myself, like kind of what my brand is and what I've always done. I always just look for the kind of up and coming brand, the lesser known people, just to break the mold, you know, because like what's gonna make a disc golf course stand out like having Innova when every other major course has some major, you know, Discraft, Innova, all those are the main sponsors. And I was like, I want to be different while still keeping it, you know, disc golf related. So like I'm definitely like super grateful that this partnership kind of arose, and I think I definitely see very positive things going forward. Just like events and stuff, I feel like we can really kind of take things in a unique way.
I'm excited for that. And then, you know, once I have ideas on how to do stuff that's not been done before in disc golf too, I don't want to talk about it obviously, but you know, once I get some capital and some, you know, I'll be able to start doing more creating. I have ideas for better 3D printers, you know, all sorts of things have come out of this, right? So, you know, I'm ready to rock and roll. And at the same time, you know, I'm having a blast playing. I play so much. I play. The only day I don't play is Monday because I got to give my arm a rest, right? And I'm 41, so I'm not a spring
right.
chicken anymore. And also that's the other thing too, right? So like that's the other thing that drives me, because you know my wife was watching the Olympics or something, and she's saying like, you know, everyone's always impressed because you know these 21-year-olds are winning gold medalists and everything. Nothing against that accomplishment, but that's all they've had to do for 21 years is train, right?
Right.
So, like, you know, my wife's always saying I'd like to see some 50-year-old who has 3 kids, 2 jobs go out there and win the gold medal or something, you know. So I'm really just trying to start something and become a pro at an old age so I can impress my wife. Really.
I love that. And honestly, like it's so, this is I think the cool part about disc golf, and I think it's cool especially for like my audience here, because I feel like the majority of them don't play disc golf. This is actually like the first disc golf specific conversation we've even tried to have. So
well, they need to go play. It's addicting.
Well, that's 100% true. Is the fact that one, it's such a it's like an undiscovered sport to so many people, but like once you get into it you realize how legit it is. Like we definitely lucked out on our timing finding the sport, because you know it's been, I feel like now that I know a ton about disc golf and the history of it, and I just really dove into stuff, it's like I feel like it's been kind of at this like plateau for a very long time, where if you were a disc golfer, you knew everything about it and it was this super epic thing, but like, you know, branding wasn't great. Courses weren't really like what they are now. The Pro Tour wasn't even a thing yet. It was just like PDGA putting on random like championship tier tournaments and stuff. And I feel like we just got in at this like this change where like the Moore's Law is coming into effect, and all of a sudden like we're, even in the last year, I've just seen like how exponential it's grown. So it's one of these cool things where, especially for people my generation that are, I guess, entrepreneurship is a little bit easier to access. That like something like disc golf has so many opportunities right now that, you know, it's like a gold rush. I've been saying to my friend, like, we're just like, there's money to be had for anyone who wants it. And you can, and not that I'm like, I just want to play disc golf because I want to make money, but like, it's this unique opportunity that just kind of fell in my lap, and it's posed this potential to kind of grow brand, do things in the sport, and monetize it in a way that I could like create a living for myself doing something I actually really love.
And that's my goal too. I'd love to retire doing this full time. You know, it's not really retirement if I'm still working, but this has never felt like a job to me. You know,
yeah, exactly.
You know, when I'm making a disc, it feels like it's just like as if you were painting something or, you know, anything else, right? It's awesome. It's, you know, cathartic. It's freeing of your mind, right? It's awesome. The other thing too is like, you know, I agree with you the 100%. Like there's a lot of surge in new people. I think also the thing that we also have to encourage as us being leaders of new people, I suppose, is don't alienate the old folks, right, that have been in the sport for a long time. They're the ones who have paved the way for us, right?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I totally, be respectful, because I've seen a lot of stuff out there with new players, treating disc golf like it's not a good sport, right? But it's like, dude, it's a sport just like anything else, and I love it, and I'd fight for disc golf to the end.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I know, like, noticing disc golf being put on like ESPN and things like that. On You see it on Twitter, Instagram, just people in the comment section who don't understand disc golf, have never tried it. Even like I think my favorite example, and I think that any disc golfer would agree and laugh at this. It was ESPN showing the James Conrad throwing the holy shot, and people being like, "Oh, that was like so easy. Like anyone could throw a frisbee that far and make it." I'm like, I don't think you understand how absolutely epic that was. Like, this is the most insane thing.
So much body control to oh. If I could even just throw one half the distance that controlled, I would be happy. Yeah. I could barely even putt 40 feet. Like, that's what I'm practicing right now, let alone a shot like that. Yeah, it's epic.
I just think there's this disconnect with people who haven't given it a shot yet. And it's always funny seeing someone who has maybe naysayed it or been like skeptical of the sport, and then they try it for the first time and realize how absolutely difficult it is as a sport, for them to like humble down and realize like when someone's actually good, they're good because they've put in a ton of time.
Well, I think it's because it's deceptively easy, right? We could all throw a disc, and it's cool. Hey, we play catch with this all the time, right? But it's you throw 100 feet, but me being +5 and you being minus, being 2 is way different. Like, that's a 2 years worth of practicing, right? Like, it's crazy. It's hard to explain. It's deceptively easy.
Yeah.
Well, the analogy I always like to help get new people who are maybe on the fence of trying it, because like, just using ball golf, right? Yeah. Like, I've played ball golf before and it's fun, right? But I always enjoyed playing Tiger Woods on my Xbox way more than I ever did playing ball golf. To me, that's how disc golf feels. It feels like you're playing Tiger Woods. It's the same action, it's the same game, but it's faster, it's better, it's cheaper to get into. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars. You don't have to, book tee times for $100. You know what I mean? Things like that. And then you have so much more fun. You get more exercising in. You can still drink and do what you like to do at ball golf courses, right? So it's all the same plus.
I think that's the biggest benefit of disc golf is its ease of access to anyone. And that's where the person I am, I'm always looking for ways to build community or like help create, a place for people who don't necessarily have the means to do a lot of these like luxury things. Like, golf is a luxury. And even someone like me, like, I have a full-time job and stuff, and I don't think I could afford to play golf all year round. I feel like I would go broke just getting invested in that. And I know friends,
I had to make my own discs so I could keep playing.
Exactly. So, you're right. But you get what I'm saying. So it's like, even someone who has a full-time job, like doing something like regular golf is just, it's a luxury to be even afford to do that. And I feel like to a degree it has that kind of allure to it too, like this exclusivity about it. And whatever, there's a crowd for that, and that's fine. I'm not sitting here hating on golf, like whatever. I don't personally partake that much. But yeah, that was like the biggest thing. I was like, wow, it's free? Whoa, that's like unheard of. It's like,
well, the other thing I like about it too is I've been in Arizona most of my life, and over the last year and a half, I have not seen so much of Arizona as I have now. I've been out exploring more. I know more of the area. I finally acclimated. I feel like I could go outside at 108 and not feel like I'm gonna die right away. So that's good. So like, it's just all around just tons of benefits, right? And then now that I live next to this course that I've lived next to for the last 7 years, I use it all the time. I'm out there, and that's where I started with those lights. I put it out there for me first, just to light up the neighborhood.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess like now that I've played enough, and I was just thinking like it's kind of like if you were to like hit your friends up and be like, hey, you want to shoot some basketball at the park? It's got that type of like setup where it doesn't need to be this like, you're showing up to an establishment golf course and there's all this stuff to it. It's like, no, you can literally be, I mean, some of these courses I played, it's like, you know, you're hiking through a gorge almost, and or a ravine, and you got like all these cliffs and stuff, and you're playing a game while you're hiking, and it's like, it's just such a wild concept.
You don't feel like you're hiking.
No,
and then you have
realize.
a backpack that's like 20 pounds on your back that you would never hike with a 20-pound bag, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's all this extra stuff that you just don't normally do.
Yeah,
it's great.
And yeah, it's just, I think it's amazing, and also just with the whole like mental health thing, I think it's such a huge like mental health benefit to, well, one, just to be outside and to do stuff, but when you realize you like it enough and you want to work on it and get better at it, it becomes this kind of constant like challenge that's positive if you make it positive. I know some people kind of let their poor play affect them poorly, but
I'm always a half full kind of guy, so
yeah, and like I feel like we all get frustrated here and there when things aren't going right, but it's always like, in the moment I might get a little mad or whatever, but then I'm like, I'm probably gonna come back tomorrow and play anyways, so I'll figure it out then.
I'll give myself 2 years before I start getting mad. I'm not gonna get mad till then.
I mean, it's like yeah, what's the point? It's not like we're on the pro tour. I'm not Ricky Wysocki right now. Like,
yeah. No, don't get me wrong. That's my goal. I want to sometime before I die be pro status, right? Like that would be an ultimate 100%. Goal of mine now. So that's what I'm working towards, you know, but I'm still ranked 735, you know, but that's just because my PDGA hasn't updated yet, but hopefully that's in the 800s moving up here, but you know, I'm not in a rush. I want to take it slow. You know, I got lessons locally. I got lessons coming up. You know,
Nice.
I want to focus on actually learning correctly and playing. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And then also, you know, when I don't play good, people blame it on the disc, and it has nothing to do with the disc. The disc is great.
No, I agree. I think your discs are great. I mean, I haven't gotten to see all of them in flight yet, so that's why I'm excited.
Yeah, I kind of took the ninja approach and came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. No, seriously. But I think that's great, and that's the other cool thing about it is that trying to go pro is a lot more feasible. And I want to say that like, oh, it's easy to become a pro, but if you put the time and effort in, it does, like, once you understand how to throw a disc, I mean, even someone who's not necessarily like the most in shape person could still be a good disc golfer, you know?
Yeah, and you're walking around to 18 holes. That's enough. That's good. Gets you out there, gets you healthier.
Yeah.
And I've seen 67-year-old people in my local course here playing in the neighborhood all the time. This guy and his wife play. It's great. Like, I was like, it keeps you active when you're old, right? So,
yeah. I mean, there's the people who play in like the PDGA Masters worlds, and like
that's
the
awesome.
majority of those people would absolutely smoke me in a round of disc golf. And they're like 60
and not even
old.
moving. They hardly move.
So it's like that right there is proof that like you can master it, and then it just kind of sticks with you.
Like riding a bike. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so cool. Curious, just. I feel like you were saying, like, you're super into all this technology and doing all these things. Just kind of like take me back to like when you're a little bit younger. I guess like what really got you started in exploring all these things? Like, I guess what was like that
Star Trek? Should be pretty evident. Yeah. No, I've been a Trekkie since I was a kid. My mom watched the original series, and I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up. So then I got when I got older, I was like, okay, well, I'll join the Air Force so I could be an astronaut. And then, you know, reality was like, you're 18, you're out of high school, go get a job. And that's what happened. So, so I just always continued on the side, exploring technology and everything. While just, you know, being on the hamster wheel, doing the grind.
Right. So when you were little, say before college kind of time, did you like ever do any inventing of yours during that time? I feel like, you know.
So my grandfather was a carpenter. He actually worked for the city of New York, was a carpenter there. So he did a lot of construction. My dad built stuff. He was also an astronomer. My dad and grandpa would build their own telescopes. I would do like house projects with my dad and grandpa. So, just building things were always kind of in the family. My grandfather was also a painter, so I used to draw with him. So just kind of building and being artsy craftsy was just kind of like a family trait. So I think it's in the genes.
Yeah, definitely. It's very evident too. I mean, even just I think the thing that it impressed me the most out of everything, I mean, well, other than obviously like the disc, because to do what you did and get them PDGA approved, I mean, that's like epic in itself. But to see like your website launch and just seeing like how dope it is, I'm like,
well, the guys at RLC Media helped me with that, so I can't draw that good on my own. But yeah,
fair enough.
Team effort. Yeah.
But just like, just knowing, like, getting the right pieces together to, showcase yourself off the bat as like you're not just like a rinky-dink thing, like you actually are taking this serious and stuff. It just like I'm huge on like branding and stuff, and I just feel like off the get-go you just had nailed it with the branding.
Well,
I'm like,
you.
yes, like I love that.
I knew what I wanted and I just went for it.
Yeah. It's
honestly, I was scared the whole time. I'm still scared. I have never put myself out there. I'm an introvert, even though people who know me, I talk a lot, but I'm myself. I'm very guarded. I have a lot of defense mechanisms up, like I'm sure everybody, but yeah, I'm really putting myself out there that's why I don't look at any social media, anything. I don't know what anyone's saying out there. I let my friends and everyone else keep that to themselves. Right.
Right.
So, yeah. I just plug forward, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I like that. Like, I feel like doing something that you're doing, it could easily flop for so many people because of so many different factors, right? The branding's off, people don't care about it because it's not memorable, or
everyone has opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different little factors, and I guess this is just me giving you praise, but
I appreciate it.
It's very cool to see someone actually have the idea and hit the right notes right off the bat. I mean, that just goes a mile for you.
Well, I think also what helps is I don't have a board of directors or stockholders to answer to right at the moment, right? I funded it all myself. I didn't do a Kickstarter. I'm not out here Patreoning anyone. I don't have any gimmicks to offer anybody. I strictly made these discs for me and my friends. Other people really enjoy them, and I'm so happy about that. And I'm just really trying to spread joy one disc at a time. And if people want to join the fellowship and be part of it, buy a disc. I'm trying to keep them reasonable priced. I know $20, like not necessarily like 15, but I can't pump out 40,000 discs a day, right? Like a lot of this too is manual labor. I'm involved in every step of the process, right? So
right,
it's kind of like I look at it as artists. I'm giving, and then the other thing is I'm providing another canvas, right? So there's so many dyers out there and like people who do like all sorts of painting on the disc. Like now you have another canvas, and it looks pretty cool. Like Jory Fly Dyes, he's been doing some dye work. I've sent some out to some other dyers to see their work on them. And it's also experimenting, right? Because I don't know how some of these designs are going to take to the disc, right? So it's kind of like, if you want to try stuff out, I'm willing to collaborate with people. I love collaborating, right? It's all, strength in numbers, right? And it's all supporting disc golf, which is really the ultimate goal. I want to see disc golf be as big as the NFL and Formula One, and because those are all the things I like.
Right. It makes sense, and it's very cool. Like, even just getting involved with like the dyeing community and like some prominent names in that community off the bat is pretty cool. I know Jory Dyes. He was like one of the first people I saw doing like that, had like a big account doing dyes, and I remember like early on from when I realized like what you were doing, that he did like, he dye like a Borg or something like that.
A Borg and a Dwayne, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, Okay, so like we're already
Yeah,
at
it's
this
possible.
point, 0 to 100. I just love that. Like,
Thank Instagram. Instagram suggested Jory to me, and then I was like, hey, I like your work. Would you mind experimenting? And he said, yeah, and here we are. So it's just, I'm glad he was willing to work with me, because that's the other thing. It's actually harder than you would think to find people to work with you on things, right? And then I could, especially me coming out of nowhere, people are like, who the heck is this guy? So I get that people could be suspect of me, but no, I'm a real person. It's real, and I just trying to make cool stuff.
yeah, no, and I think that's like I'm excited for this conversation to be posted out into the world because like, yesterday when we were talking, I was looking up just to see if there was any other kind of videos on YouTube floating around of people doing any reviews of your disc and anything, and I saw one other one than the one that you suggested. And the guy wasn't throwing your disc, but he was at least like talking about it. But I was like, nah, it definitely would be good to get your story there, just so anyone who like gets their hand on your disc or meets someone who throws one and they end up looking you up, here's a story that actually kind of explains like what it all is, which is interesting because I feel like
I think it's a lot like Triple G's story, right? He's got beef jerky that he just started making for friends. Like, is he a beef jerky expert? What makes him a beef jerky expert? I don't know, but he's.
So I actually listened to his podcast with Nate Sexton, and he's been making jerky since he was in like high school.
I've been brewing beer for like 20 years. I'm a beer brewer too. So if anyone wants to collaborate on any recipes, I got some awesome pumpkin stouts and stuff.
Is it all just like home done, or do you have like?
I have an electric setup, and I have a full setup. Just I went like I do OCD with the discs. I did the same with beer. I go OCD with everything I do. It's either 100% or not at all. Yeah.
That's awesome. Which could be cool. Like you could, I
know like, I could have probably a lot of businesses going, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. Which obviously like that takes a lot of manpower. So I even doing one is respectable. But like I think of like the disc golf bra guys, they have their own run of beer through like a local brewery in Massachusetts, wherever they live, or maybe Connecticut, I think. But I'm just like, you make your own beer, you could easily.
I know. I was seeing all this stuff happen. It was like I was meant to be in the disc golf world. It was I spent my whole life just to get here, is what I felt like.
Yeah. Oh no.
100%. I feel like sim racing saved my life, and disc golf is keeping me alive. That's what I look at it as. So it's awesome.
Yeah. It's very cool. Like, and this kind of comes back to what I was saying about like the kind of crazy opportunities there are in disc golf. Like, if you're just like a creative of any sort, for some reason, people who play disc golf want to throw their money at anyone who does anything cool and sells it for disc golf related reasons.
Like I'm looking for someone to make some cool trophies. Would be cool, right? Like we need some cool trophies out there, right? So I suppose I could 3D print them, but I don't want to 3D print everything, right? Like,
right.
I already got jewelry. I got everything 3D printed.
Yeah.
Next, I'm gonna 3D print a person. That'll be next. Right?
Well, maybe
we'll create the Borg for real.
Maybe for the tournament coming up, or for next year, we could do some trophies made by you, since you are like the presenting sponsor. That would be pretty cool.
We'll make some I did make mini warp cores and things like that. Maybe we think of something fun to do. Yeah, it just depends on how busy I am, right? If I'm too busy making this, I can't really make up.
Well, yeah, of course.
That's the goal though, right? So
yeah.
I'll get an apprentice to make something.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good caveat to go in. Obviously, you've only been doing this for a year, so I know you're not like that far along yet. But I guess, do you have any plans or thoughts behind like expanding your current setup and like kind of building that out more in terms of being able to build more? Make
I do. Yeah, I do. It all just depends on supply and demand, right? So if this goes nowhere, then it's going to stay as it is right now, right? But I have plans for, like I said, new machines, things like that. I have lots. I can't really talk about it. I want to talk about it with you. Actually, it's like the allure, right? But no, that's part of it. You got to keep it to yourself, because
No,
then
I feel
someone
that.
else who has all the resources and the money in the world will take my idea. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
No, I agree.
If someone wants, if like Anova or Discmania wants to buy me, then I could tell them the idea, and then that would be good. But
right. No, I mean, it's cool though that you're in a place where the possibility of expanding is very much close, if not in grasp, and I'm definitely excited to see how that unfolds.
well, and that's the thing too, right? Like I don't have a huge factory that I have to maintain and things like that, right? So it definitely, I'm much more nimble. It definitely helps.
So you do everything out of your house?
I do. Yeah, in my garage, like every other person.
Yeah.
Using the garage for, it's my brewery and my manufacturing facility.
Yeah,
But it's mostly the brewing equipment's kind of, since I haven't brewed in a year, it's kind of been slowly being, put away. So
yeah. So curious, just because 3D printing is always an interesting topic for people, especially for people who don't know too much about it. One, I guess, like, what types of like filaments are you using? Like, is there something special about the ones you use? Because I know, like, my friend uses a 3D printer, and it's like interesting, like the consistency of the plastic in your molds compared to like stuff he's made are very different, and I don't know too much about filaments to understand it.
Unfortunately, yeah, with the plastic, that's another right kind of secret area I can't talk about.
Okay.
That's kind of my own doing, right? I can tell you it's, I don't know if it's just me that has been able to do it or why, but yeah, I was surprised I'm the only one who's been able to do it as well. So I don't know if it's just, I was able to come up with my own process. I did my own settings on my slicer tools, right? I went through a lot to get these to fly.
So I'm assuming like the first time you made a disc, it didn't come out like in that consistency right off the bat.
No, yeah. I actually I was gonna box up, put in like a little shadow box, the original teleporter, and like just show the evolution of the teleporter.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That, yeah. I have like old versions of Dwayne. You can see the evolution of Dwayne and guns and things like that.
Yeah.
Because honestly, getting the curve in the disc was the hardest part, right? Getting it and then getting those to fly, right? So I started with the Borg first, and that's why he's so boxy and flat. And I have those 3 models that you throw upside down, right? Because it was trying to experiment to get to like the teleporter and the guns to prove that 3D printing can be more than just for prototyping and things like that, like everyone says, right? Because that's what I heard from the beginning. Oh, you can't 3D print this? Well, why not? Like, I don't. It's plastic.
Yeah. It's just
melted
a different
plastic.
Right. It's just a different like mode of using the same medium to like make it happen, which is awesome. Like, you're pioneering a whole section of how to make a disc that no one's even like. I shouldn't say no one. I don't know for sure if no one's tried to make their own disc with a 3D printer.
I have no idea.
But
you Google it, you don't see much, right?
Right.
I know there was a guy who started a Kickstarter recently trying to make a non-PDGA approved 3D printed disc, wanted like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, dude, why'd you start a Kickstarter? He must not know I'm already out there.
Apparently not. Yeah. Didn't do his research. Because I was going to say, I was like, you're the only one who's like made it to that point already. Which,
yeah, and why would anyone want to throw a non-PDGA approved disc? Let's be real.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, there's no reason to throw. Like, you don't see people throwing the Franklin starter packs in a tournament. No, it's cool. Because like my friend 3D print stuff, and most of them are rather rigid. And so that's how, I guess in my head, I always just assume that's like all you could make with a 3D printer. So like the first time I held one of your discs, I was like, whoa, this is like next level. And
it's just because it's hard to not do firm material, right?
Yeah. No, and it's awesome that you've figured it out on your own. Because like I'm sure there's a lot of people scratching their head like, how the hell are you doing that? Which that's your edge, right? Like that's how
I guess
how you survive. Or at least that's how you can make money if someone wants to buy your idea.
It's not, the idea is not really, well, I guess it's not, I was gonna say it's not for sale.
Fair.
It's like my child. I wouldn't sell a kid.
Yeah, no, don't sell out. Don't be that guy. Yeah. So, how many tournaments have you done up to this point?
I know you said
I signed up for one right away. The first tournament I did was actually a non-sanctioned tournament. It was for the musicfest.org. They did a fundraiser. It was in April. I played with only the Borg and the Mr. Putt because that's all that was PDGA approved at the time. I think the week after it was PDGA approved, I signed up and went into that right away. And I was so nervous. I had a blast. I went home and I looked up on disc golf scene when the next tournament was. So like, I think 2 weeks later was an NADGT tournament. I did that. I did horribly, but I had a blast. And then I've just kind of been signing up for tournaments ever since. So I'm actually in 4 tournaments coming up. So wish me luck. Hopefully I can start getting out of MA3. That's where I'm at right now. So
yeah. So it's funny because I did the same thing. Like pretty much once I felt like, all right, I know how to play disc golf now. Like I just dove right into tournament play, and I went to, so like I have a background and I played ultimate in college, so I think that's what kind of helped me pick up disc golf pretty quick, because I already had like a solid forehand, which I feel like a lot of people
I
struggle
I
with.
have none of that. I just throw backhand, and my
Yeah.
backhand
And it's funny because I have a
not
terrible
the best
backhand.
form.
Like my backhand is trash. I don't. If you ever play around with me, you'll notice I literally never throw backhand off the tee. I'm forehand dominant, unless like it's an approach shot. Then you might see me break out my backhand. But yeah, tournament play, I just kind of dove right in, and being a competitor in so many sports growing up, I just kind of was like, yeah, I can just go. So I've been playing an MA2 the whole season, and I've had very mixed results because I'm not a seasoned player. So whether it's tournament nerves or things like that, it easily just kind of like brought out all the flaws in my game. But I've decided to like stick with MA2 because I feel like it's a solid place to be for a lot of players. I feel like one in tournaments, and I don't know if you have this same like thing out in Arizona. I assume it's probably similar. There's a lot of like variance in skill level in MA3 and MA2 where like you always have these people who definitely should be playing in like MA1, playing in MA3, and you're like, why are you bagging right now? Like, MA3 I feel like should be like a low stakes, people are having fun, they're competing, but it's not like we're not taking this like it's the PDGA championship, and MA2 is kind of like this weird zone where people who aren't necessarily ready for it aren't going to play in MA2, but you still have some of those MA1 players who are playing in MA2. So there's like I guess it's more of a challenge because there's still definitely a handful of people who are going to probably smoke you in the tournament. So I was like, screw it. I'll just stay here for now until I feel like I could actually win a tournament. And I got close, but yeah, it's been interesting. I think I'll
have that here too, to answer your question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I'm a gamer, and you get that in games all the time, right? You go online, any FPS, you'll deal with that. So to me, honestly, I love it because if an MA1 guy wants to come down to MA3 and that happens to be the day I win, that's just going to make me feel that much better.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
you catch them
bring
on
it
their
on.
off
That's
day.
yeah. I don't mind. Yeah. If they need a bag, to make themselves feel cool, that's up to them, right? It's
right.
At the end of the day, you're really only competing against yourself, right? So
yeah, I think that's a good way to put it too, because I feel like the tournaments where I spent more time caring about like how like what the standings are, stuff like I learned early on to like not even look at the standings of the tournament. I'm like I'm not playing in MPO right now, so I'm not playing for some big cash payout, I'm just here to I want to improve my rating and do better in this tournament, like place better than I did in the last
the
one.
hardest thing I have with tournaments and stuff is like keeping with the game plan, right? Because you got I think tournaments are more boring than normal play, right? Only in the sense that you're driving and putting, right? And you're really, if you're doing good and you're winning, you're throwing the same shots over and over again. That's why I say it's important. So, forcing yourself and having that commitment and that regimen is the hard part for me, right? Because halfway through the round, I'll be like, I haven't tried this disc in a while. Let's throw this over there. And you're like, oh, now I threw out of bounds. And see, why did I change the game plan? And you're like, oh yeah, just stick to the plan, right?
Yeah, no, I feel that too. Like the strategy behind a tournament play as opposed to just like playing with your buddies is very different. And yeah, sticking to your plan is.
I love playing with a lot of the groups though around town because they're all better than me, and so me playing with them has been making me a lot better. And
Definitely.
I pay into the pot every week and I lose every time, but to me that's just cheap lessons, right? Because I'm donating to these guys and I'm learning from watching them. So
yeah,
I'm appreciative. So it works out too.
So
don't be afraid to go pay into those pots just because you lose, because you're getting free lessons, folks.
Yeah, and who's to say you don't have just a great night, Like
exactly.
I have one of my friends who plays
and even if it's fun to learn, even if starting out with or something like that is good.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it shows you the community that's there. I think a lot of people don't even realize how built out some of these disc golf communities are in their local area. And then they go play a league round, they're like meeting all these new people who are locals who play, and now you have like an even bigger group of people that you can reach out to play around, which is awesome. So tell me more about the. I'm interested about the sim racing and stuff. I guess how long have you been doing that? And I guess what is that community all about? I'm very
honestly, that community is a lot like disc golf community, right? It's a niche inside the gaming community, but it's it's kind of like you say, oh, don't call discs frisbees, right? You don't call it a game, right? It's a simulation, right? So it's a lot more intense. It's 100% realistic. There's laser scanned in tracks. The physics are amazing. You're driving a real car. It scares the crap out of you. I've been doing that now a year and a half. So I started that in April of last year. So I'm coming up on a year and a half of that now too. So it's kind of like, COVID gave me the opportunity to have my midlife crisis early. So I'm just now I'm enjoying all the things I wanted to enjoy. That was so racing. I like football. I like disc golf. And so now I'm just doing all those things.
So do you compete in sim races or?
I do. Yeah. I race against other people. I haven't done any huge major events or anything, but like every event is major when you're racing against another human being, right? I feel like it's a challenge. You rank up just like you do in the PDGA or whatever. In the iRacing, they have their own ranking and safety rating. So like you actually have to be safe. You can't just go wrecking everybody and cutting the course. There's rules. You'll get kicked out, all sorts of stuff, right? So it's just like the real racing community, and real racers use the simulations to race on. Like I've raced with real racers before, just getting into for fun matches and stuff. It's just cool. It's a lot like disc golf, right? You're looking for lines, you're following your line, so I see the lines on the road, I see the lines in the air that my discs follow. It's a lot of the same. I think the competition and the mindset and the self-reliance is a lot between sim racing and disc golf.
That's interesting. I feel like that's cool. Like you can practice that, like the mental game of if you're saying like it's very reflective, like that mental, like learning that mental game and mastering that and having it carry over into your disc golf game is like, that's such a huge advantage.
Yeah, because man, it is. I've done 3-hour stints in Le Mans, and that is all mental, right? You get out drenching. I have mad respect for real race car drivers, and I'm drenched. I lost 40 pounds racing in a simulator, right? Like these guys are racing for their lives, right?
Right.
Like, it's crazy. So
yeah. I always hear people talking smack about like NASCAR racers and stuff.
Oh, NASCAR's going in the circle is hard, folks. I've done it. It's the back end gives out. That car, it's a beast. You're on a rocket trying to control
seriously.
It looks a lot easier than it is.
It's like a paper rocket with a metal core.
It's crazy. It's fun. And then you're next to each other holding that millimeter of between you, the guy in the front of you, everything. It's crazy. It's awesome. It's so exhilarating.
The sim cars that you're racing, what type of actual race cars are you racing in?
they're real race cars. So they have the new Ferrari in there. They have the new Corvette C8R, dollar F3s. They have concept cars they put in there. They have it's the full cars from the full manufacturers.
That's awesome.
So, and they start you on a Mazda MX-5, little Miata. It's so awesome, right? I've never had so much fun in a little MX-5.
Is it like similar to like video games where you have to like kind of do stuff to afford like better cars, or do you have to like buy them yourself?
You buy the car, you start out with, you have free content, so you put in what you get out what you put in, right? But you could do the whole game for free by just paying your monthly fee, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
you have to pay monthly for iRacing service. I think I paid like, you pay for 2 years during like a Black Friday sale or some
Oh, nice.
Christmas
So
sale.
you
You
just
get it
don't have to
really
worry
cheap.
about it.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. But then if you want, like, if maybe Red Bull Ring is your favorite track, you could buy it. It's laser etched, laser scanned in, and you go race on Red Bull Ring, right? If you want to drive a certain, they have lots of cars. They have like 40, 50 cars. I can't even name them all. But yeah, right now I've been doing the dollar F3, trying to mess around. I've been so busy with disc golfing that I hadn't had time until recently to actually sit behind the wheel. But now I've been able to, like, I got everything kind of settled with the business. I'm sim racing more. I got a VR treadmill set up. I've been
Yeah, I watched
walking
that
on that. It was
video.
kind of trippy. Yeah. So it's just kind of doing all the things I love.
Yeah, the VR.
Try the sim racing though. VR is awesome.
I don't have any VR stuff, but I have played on I have a friend who has some like not your setup by any means. It was more like he bought a VR headset and it doesn't use it that often, but like I messed with it once. But it's like, yeah, I definitely am interested in that stuff. I wish I had. I'm a very busy person myself, so I'm just like, even being able to watch a TV show is like sometimes a challenge for me.
Yeah, that's been my thing, right? I'm on a weird sleep schedule. I still work my day job. I still have 3 kids I got to do right on top of all this stuff. So yeah, I feel you.
Um,
I just don't
Curious.
sleep. I figure I'll sleep when I'm dead.
I like that. Yeah, I usually I usually only sleep for about 4 hours a night. I'm pretty cracked out all the time. Just like, all right,
Yeah,
what else
I
can
drink
we
a lot
work
of
on?
coffee, but
Yeah.
I did hospital shifts, 12 14-hour days, so I'm used to drinking a lot of coffee and
Oh
being up
yeah.
for a long time. Yeah, so.
So do you still nursing? Is that what your day job?
I haven't done bedside for a couple years now. Right before COVID is when I stopped. I started doing my computer job full time. They wanted me to come back more. So just my kids were getting older. Work-life balance was better in the computer industry.
Gotcha.
Um,
Do any of your kids or your wife partake in the disc golf or any of the stuff you're
I
doing?
try to, trying to get kids to do anything that you're interested in, I feel like is a challenge, right? Now they're interested in video games and I don't force them. They've been out maybe a couple times playing for fun. The tournament coming up this weekend, they're going to be forced to walk around with me, right? But other than
Nice.
that, yeah. My wife, she likes glamping and stuff. She's kind of like a princess, right? I love her. She's not gonna, it's too hot and muggy right now in Arizona for disc golfing, but she's a natural. I'm trying to get her out there. She could sling it. I brought her
Hell
twice
yeah.
and man, she does good. And I feel like, she could get into the women's leagues and do pretty good. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
get her out there. So maybe now it's in October, November when it cools down here, she'll get out more with me.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's just normally me out there, and then I got a couple of friends that go with me every once in a while. But I met so many people in the community now. I just meet up with them, and I play with the ace holes every Sunday that I can, and then I try to do things on Saturday if I can. I do field work on Tuesday. I go to Marbella. Anyone local is always welcome to join me. I try to keep like 5:30, 6 o'clock every Tuesday.
Nice. I like that. I have a very similar like setup. I have like a Snapchat group with a bunch of friends that all got into disc golf around the same time. But we've all kind of grown to the same like skill level, which is nice. Like a bunch of people actually like figured it out. So we just every day it's like who's trying to go play, where are we trying to play. We have a bunch of different courses around the area. I mean, comparing to like I guess like where are you in the state of Arizona?
I'm in Gilbert area,
Okay.
so it's like a suburb of Tempe, Phoenix, everything.
Yeah, got you. Okay. I'm just like looking on UDisc. I always look at like all these city pockets and seeing like the massive amounts of disc golf courses that are available, and where I live in Syracuse, there's only like 6 courses that are available. Um, so that kind of is why I ended up building a course, because I was just like, we need more out here. Like New York is very sparse when it comes to disc golf, which is very interesting because one of like the very first worlds happened in Rochester. So it's like it's interesting that the state didn't like take onto it more.
Well, even Gilbert here is building this huge Gilbert Regional Park, and they're going to be building a disc golf course supposedly in there. And so I've been making sure I email every once in a while to make sure they still are, because we have courses, but even I don't think we have as many as some other states. And I think we're a great state to have a ton. And
oh yeah,
we should be more into it as a state as well. And
having
I don't know why we have the Phoenix Open here, but we can't have some disc golf event that's just as big, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like having the ability to play year round in like not winter like conditions that's huge. I mean, like,
no, it's hot. You wake up earlier, right? Or
yeah.
if you get the city involved, maybe we get some solar lights, put on more baskets, and get more night rounds going. Right?
Yeah, and it's nice too because like you don't. I mean, I guess what's the like the rough in terms of like on courses out by you? Is it mostly like desert like, or
my experience? Yeah, just locally here where I'm at, it's desert. I know we have courses up north where it's forest and stuff like that. I've only been to a couple, so I can't speak to a lot of courses around here, but in the local area, that in the hour and a half radius that I've driven, the more wildlife ones are going to be the desert ones where you're walking through, just like where it's overrun desert or something to keep. Sometimes I feel like you'll have like this really nice front 9, and then the back 9 will be like where they just, the city I think wanted you to walk through to keep homeless people out or something, right? So,
right?
yeah. So we could, there's some room for improvement out here too.
Yeah, and I think that's cool too because like I play glow rounds here in New York because like I'm sure it's same for you down there. It starts getting darker out sooner because winter's coming, and so we have to start doing like 5:30. Well, I guess they started like 2 weeks ago at like 7, but as it gets darker sooner, they start pushing that like start time earlier. But even then, like playing glow in wooded courses is very interesting. You don't necessarily lose your disc all the time, but there's still like a chance of it. Whereas like I feel like if you're playing in a more desert like setting, you have a bit better of a chance of not losing anything.
It's a good point. I never thought about glow rounds in the forest.
Yeah, it's
very, you don't see your disc if it's behind a tree, right?
Right. So it's fun. I mean, it does add like this this dynamic factor to it because you be playing this course that you play all the time and you know the line and you know where the massive trees are in your way and you're like, all right, I know what line to take, but I can't see the trees. So now I'm just envisioning. Yeah, I'm just hoping I throw it and it doesn't hit anything.
And like you see it like 10 feet in front of you and then you don't see it again. You're like, I'm just walking where I think I know where it's at.
Yeah, and if you hit a tree because you'll hear it. But
fortunately, even down here, we don't have that many trees. But if there's one tree in a field, I find it all the time. It's MA3 life right there.
Oh yeah, dude. I think discs just were made to find trees. Like
that's why one of the requirements where I had to make my discs almost indestructible because man, I hit a lot of stuff with them.
Yeah, I think, and that's interesting. So this is a good question I feel like to ask, and for anyone who is maybe curious about your disc, just as experience with other manufacturers, you throw your disc at a tree enough, it starts flying a bit differently. I guess what is your experience with your disc in terms of like taking those hits, and how does it affect their flight patterns?
I personally feel like zero effect, and I haven't seen anyone prove that wrong. So yeah, I've hit concrete, stuff's been run over, scratched it. I've taken an angle grinder to the disc and like there's no blemish on there. So
wow, that's awesome.
But that's why I only say virtually indestructible, because I think when you go to that way and you say it's indestructible, someone's going to try to like purposely destroy it. So if Superman was like as indestructible as humanly possible we could make something, then we're like Shazam, probably. That's how.
Got you. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome though, and that makes me even more excited to bag some of your discs, because like I think one of my biggest things, I think like a perfect example is my Wraiths. So I throw Halo Wraiths, and out the bag they fly like so perfectly for what I want them to do, and after playing with them a bunch and hitting all sorts of things on courses, um, they tend to fly very understable, and that just leads to like having to completely relearn how to throw the disc after a while. And I mean, there is something to like throwing a broken disc. Sometimes it tends to fly even like better than initially, but I think there is something to also having a product that holds its value the entirety of its lifetime, you know, like
Well, and that's the thing that
trusting it.
I wanted. I didn't want it to be chipping. I didn't want it to be changing flight. I'm a new player already struggling with how to throw my disc. I don't need it changing in the middle of me playing, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I thought of that requirement, right? Yeah. So, and as every disc I've made flies the same, I feel like, and every disc that I've used always flies the same. You know, I've had some mistakes throughout this whole process. You know, so there are some out in the world that don't fly the same. There are factory seconds I have as well. But yeah, all my discs are overstable with just the two couple understable discs that purposely made to be understable. So
Yeah. I think that's that one's very important for me, especially like as a newer player. Like, I guess my logic behind thinking about, for example, like you wouldn't want a golf club that hits the ball weird, like different than what it said it was supposed to do. And I feel like that's like this common joke I hear with people at tournaments and stuff is like flight numbers don't really mean anything because no disc mold, like you could buy a star destroyer, and then someone else is throwing a champion destroyer, and they're gonna fly completely different. And I've always just thought, why? Like, isn't the whole point of a destroyer to fly like you think a destroyer should fly? And
I would agree with you there, but then you got to remember the different plastic blends, all that stuff's going to change. The variants, weights, all that stuff factors in. So I wouldn't say that it doesn't matter, but I would say that that it doesn't matter for a different reason than that. Because I don't personally, I don't use flight numbers. I know Innova on their website, and they said themselves that that's for them to distinguish their discs from one another because they have so many, right? And I know we community has picked it up as a whole, and a lot of manufacturers use that number, but the people are out there comparing like a Discmania numbered disc to an Innova disc, and as far as I'm aware, you're not supposed to do that, right? You're supposed to only compare within the manufacturer themselves, right? So there is no set way of saying anything. I personally don't feel the numbers matter because yes, it matters to a degree, like whereas a 9-speed versus a 13, because your arm strength and things fly, right? But I'll still use a 13-speed disc because it'll work like a mid-range for me, and maybe I need it to go that certain way. So disc that's too fast for you still has their uses. So I think people more need to not focus on flight numbers and things like that, and just think of like, okay, I want something that's overstable or under. That's where you start, and then how far is it going to go for you? That's what you need to determine. It's not like, because I know people who throw 400 feet with a putter, right? That doesn't mean anything. They play the whole game with nothing but their putter. I can't do that, right? So you just got to learn what disc works for you, and get those. And that's the other thing you mentioned, like with the clubs and stuff, get multiple different discs because they're all going to fly differently. You want to make your whole bag so you have like a club basically for every situation.
Exactly.
And then you need multiple of it because your clubs are also your ball, right?
Right. Yeah. So God forbid you lose one, you're not out that disc. Yeah, I learned that the hard way in a tournament. I
try to carry 3 of everything.
Yeah, and that's why I bought/found some zones. I lost a zone in a tournament, and it kind of like wrecked me a little bit in a round. I had like an approach shot, and there's water next to the green, and I hit the green, but then it rolled out into the water and we couldn't find it or retrieve it. So I was just out that disc for the rest of the round. And thankfully, someone on my card ended up like giving me a zone out of his bag because he felt bad because I had lost another disc in that round. I was having a bad day.
That's a nice person right there.
Oh, he gave me like a Paul Macbeth 5-time zone. And I was like, really, dude? You don't need to do that. Like, you don't even know me. Like, and he's like, nah. He's like, I got like 10 of these in my car right now. He's like, just take one. I was like, all right. I mean, sick. But yeah, I was like, I realized really quickly, like, if you have a trusty utility type disc that you just use for so many things, you really don't want to lose that and have nothing to replace it in your bag in a tournament because you're
SOL. It
Oh,
ruins
yeah.
your whole game. Yeah.
Or you have to completely rearrange your like thought process behind how you're gonna finish that round out. But I do appreciate that the designs that you've put out all have a very consistent output in terms of like how they fly.
Yeah.
I think for me, just sticking to one brand over the other is just like wanting that consistency over time. And I have noticed with some certain molds and certain manufacturers that I don't really see that consistency, and it kind of like ticks me off a little bit because it's like, well, I bought this disc for a reason. It's not really flying how I want it to. So now I'm like, do I buy another one? Do I risk getting one that flies even different than this? Like,
it's like and that's, I guess that's the model though, because, there's only so many people in the world. And if I'm in the situation where you don't need to buy any more discs, so maybe it's like planned obsolescence, or something. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, like, kudos to you for having something that you don't need to worry about that, or people talking crap that like, oh, well, his discs all fly weird. So,
well, people always talk crap, I feel like, no matter what, right?
Most likely.
At least I know they don't fly weird, so I see them fly all the time.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and that's why I'm excited to do some. I'll probably take them on some of our elevation holes at the course and let them really.
I'll be curious to see some of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I want
to see your ultimate frisbee arm. See how far you chuck those.
Oh yeah, no, seriously. Well, so I'm interested because I'm forehand dominant, throwing the Borg upside down will be interesting.
So forehand thumber.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm gonna have to do
this local guy calls it the Borg Shot. He's a ex-baseball player. It's like a forehand thumber, like a knuckleball or something, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
And he's able to get it to full flight.
Chuck that thing, dude. Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like one of the reviews you posted recently, someone was saying like this made disc golf like brought like this fun side of disc golf that I was like missing or something like that. And I was like, yes.
Well,
like,
yeah, it's weird going out there when like you throw an S with the disc does this S by itself and you didn't even put it on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the way the disc flies, right? It makes you feel like you're pro, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just cool watching it fly.
Which is like the best part. That's like the whole lore of playing disc golf.
Yeah, when everyone drives, doesn't everyone's eyes just watch that disc? No one's watching anything else. Everyone watches a disc fly. It's beautiful. It's art.
Yeah, no, seriously. So you currently have 8 molds.
8 styles.
Correct?
I call them styles, but yeah, because they're not molds, right? So I call them styles.
Correct.
And then any style could be customized the way you want. So, or you could get them as a standard. Right. And standards, just you get whatever color I send you and you get to pick your weight. So
Gotcha.
And then in the customs you can change the graphic in the center if you want to pick your own graphic. Don't send me anything trademarked, obviously, right? Black and white works best, it's typical logo type things. And then you can pick up the 3 colors that you want your disc, and then you can make it glow in the dark, either blue or green if you want.
And I know I reached out to you about us doing some customs, and I think once we come into some extra, I'm hoping with this tournament we might actually be able to have some fun.
No rush. I'm here whenever.
Yeah, because like I definitely, our thought was like, and I don't know what the timeline looks like for this, but having some type of pro shop on property. I've been to a couple courses that are a bit bigger and have been around for a while, and having that pro shop on property just like it makes the whole experience that much
It's
better.
more legitimized.
Yeah.
It's more of an experience.
Being able to sell discs on property is such a cool thing, and especially, I don't know if you know much, you probably don't know much about the area that we built the course. It's one of the poorest counties in New York State, so they haven't had a disc golf course ever. Most of the people have had to drive hour plus to Syracuse to play, so most of them don't play. Previous to us building the course, most of them didn't play very frequently, maybe like a handful of times in a summer, because they had the time to go drive down somewhere or whatever. So it's a very, very new thing for that region. But I found out that there's a ton of people who play. So it's not that it's foreign, it's just the access to it has been very, very limited. So having a pro shop in that area and knowing that there's tons of people who are coming from anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes out, but coming there because it's the closest thing, is like, I think it's just like a no-brainer. Because for me, like, and I'm sure you've probably bought discs at in-store pro shops, there's just something about being able to touch the disc and interact with someone who knows more about disc golf than you do,
or even just interacting, period.
Yeah, or just meeting people.
Yeah.
And
it also gives you a place to meet up where you're not just on the field, right? So it's fun.
Yeah,
a hangout spot.
Yeah, so
and then you need to open up a restaurant, and then you need to get beer there too. You get all that.
Yeah, so cool thing about the spot, it's at a ski resort, so they have a restaurant tavern on property, which is actually like, there's an outdoor patio they just built in 2019, and in the area, again, it's one of the few places that has outdoor seating. So they've never been a resort to have all year round functionality with their tavern. It's usually been just the winter. But because of the disc golf course, they're building out mountain bike trails now. They're getting permitted for camping on property. So like, they're just taking it. So they're newer owners. They bought the property like 7 years ago. And when they bought it, it was almost in like disrepair. The owners prior just kind of stopped caring about it. And so it's been seeing this huge revitalization and interest from, honestly, our whole friend group. We're friends with the owner, and he's like 35. And we've all just been like, hey, can we do this there? And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So
just start geeking out with each other.
Yeah, it's awesome. He's like, I mean, if you want to do something that's going to make this place more appealing for people to come, and like at any time of the year, like, let's do it. So he just hired a manager for the restaurant, and they're opening the tavern earlier than they ever have, October 1st, I want to say. And now it's going to be open starting October 1st, and it will be a full year-round function. I mean, the hours are only like Friday through Sunday during non-winter time, but like having that open at any time during the week is huge.
Yeah.
So we really are like, it's very unique because there's nothing in the local area that has a setup like that. Most of our disc golf courses are at public parks. So, having like things like league play and stuff like that, and having a restaurant, like a place to hang afterwards, is I feel like it's going to be a game changer. I
thought those pictures you sent too were beautiful. The course looks great up there.
It's unlike, it's weird because sometimes I'm like, am I in New York? Because all these courses I've seen don't have elevation change like that, or just like the views and everything. It's just it's in its own world for up here. So it's very cool. I'm just excited to see where it goes. I mean, we built it in such a quick manner that we have the luxury of being able to start the spring out with like, we already have like the hardest part of it done. Now it's just like, how ridiculous can we get with it? How much landscaping.
You need to get what are you gonna do to keep the snow off? Are you gonna get like you gonna put heater pads underneath the the tee pads to keep the snow melted? Or are you gonna like salt the pads? What do you do?
So because of where the fairways are located, it's going to be seasonal, so people won't be able to play in the winter. Which sucks, like, to a degree. But at the same time, because of where the mountain is located on the Tug Hill, it's on the west side of Lake Ontario, and so that's where, like, that's why, like, Syracuse is like the snowiest city in North America, because we get slapped with lake effect snow. So we get, like, in one storm I'll get, like, 3-4 feet of snow on the ground in one night.
Can't even open your door.
Right. And it's so and up there it's even worse because they're on the butt end of the lake, so they get, like, the heaviest snow. So a lot of Vermont people will come out to ski there because when they get a powder storm, it's like chest deep powder, and you can't even get that in Vermont for a while until you get hit with, like, a big storm out there. So playing even in the winter there might not even be realistic anyways. So it's probably good that we're just whatever. But there's been talks about cutting some tree lines up to the two platforms that are on the elevation change, so that people can boost off them like jumps and stuff. I mean, they're fully built, concreted into the ground decks, so I mean they should withstand pretty much anything. We built
Just
them.
need to think of that's your winter project, Ridge Runner 2 course, right? So that you could make a winter course somewhere else for your second course.
Yeah. So, well, funny you say that. We have my buddy and I who designed the course. We already, ever since we built this course, we already have, I think, like 2 or 3 other projects in the works right now with people who reached out to us, like looking to get consulting or wanting to build. So there will be other courses. I mean, probably not this winter, but next year, that we can kind of go down that path. So I don't know.
I feel like out here we have like abandoned malls, I feel like. So I think it'd be cool if, like, to take one of those abandoned malls and make like an indoor disc golf course or something. Would be sweet.
Yeah,
right? Like,
that would be
especially out
really
here,
cool.
it's all hot. You play during the summer or night or anytime, really.
Yeah, and those places are usually, like, have pretty big ceilings and
You
stuff. So
probably
you
have
really
2
could.
courses in there, right? One upper level, one lower level. You could be
Yeah.
shooting up and down. Right? It'd be crazy.
I think, like, one of the first videos I saw regarding disc golf coverage, it was, I think it was on Brody Smith's account. He did a round at Liberty University's football stadium with, like, Paul Macbeth, his wife, and a couple other people. And I was like, whoa, you can literally set up your own course anywhere if you have portable baskets. So yeah, I think that could be a thing. I mean, there's abandoned malls everywhere, especially like up here. My hometown. I mean, I guess they're turning it into, like, assisted living and stuff. Like, they're changing it into other uses, but there's still plenty of abandoned buildings that are just massive. It's interesting. Even just, like, now that there's more interest in disc golf, there's these pockets of people that are very much, like, against people building courses near their place or wherever. So I'm interested to see if things like indoor disc golf become a thing, or if people are, like, apprehensive about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's too big to stop, and it's too cool. I think especially now, as more people like us, and I've met a whole bunch of new people locally that are new, like within the last year or two. The more people come, the more ideas, and then some of the niceties, right? Because ball golf has top golf, so it's just a
Yeah,
matter of
that's very
time before we
true.
have things
I
like
didn't even
that
think
as well.
about
I
that.
think.
That would be cool, like a Top Golf type disc golf thing where it's just like a
Yeah,
driving
there's all
range.
sorts of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could track your discs. It'd be like a indoor range or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
I
you go.
mean,
That's your idea. That's what you go do.
yeah. Let's just start. We're gonna build this massive. Yeah. I mean, that would be cool. Because I mean,
You
even
could use
this.
the ski resort land, build a disc golf, top golf type thing.
Yeah. Well. So I actually think the future plan there is there's a whole other half of the mountain we didn't even touch for this course that we're thinking about just building course 2 at the mountain, because in our opinion, and I don't know what the Disc Golf Pro Tour PDGA thinks about our course, and I don't think a lot of them even know we exist yet, is like we want to host a big tournament at the property. I mean, I think it's challenging enough, it's big enough, in my opinion, challenging enough that we could host a pro level event there. I mean, like, watching the Green Mountain Championship last weekend or 2 weekends ago, both courses are challenging, but like they aren't super long courses. And I was like, I think that's like something that we're noticing more is like courses are getting longer, and there's, you know, more attention to like having more out of bounds and making holes just longer, because people can throw a mile now. You got Eagle McMahon just throwing 700-foot shots. So
yeah, I'll stick with my 300.
Right. It's like, all right, you guys are on some other stuff. But I think having 2 courses at one facility that are equally as difficult in their own manner lends itself to the ability of having a bigger tier tournament, because you can have, you know, FPO playing one course while MPO is playing the other, and they kind of just flip-flop over the course of a couple days or whatever. So that's my secret future plan, is to get there. I don't know how feasible it is. I haven't even attempted to reach out to the powers that be to figure that out. But it's a moonshot.
That's good. It's a good goal to have. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel like if you're gonna, like, similar to you, like if you're gonna do something, like, not gonna do it halfway. I don't want to just be any old disc golf course. So
exactly, and PDGA is the shit. So let's involve them.
Yeah, no, seriously, I feel like just what we've done up to this point, and like focusing on the things that people complain about the most at disc golf courses, I think goes a long way. I think like one of our biggest strengths has been like tee pad setup and signage, which I have your
yeah, it looks good.
I
nice
put
colors. I like it.
Yeah, so funny enough, so these are fully metal signs, like you would find on a street sign. We have a nice connect, because my buddy who I was telling you about, who co-designed the course, he runs a print shop, and he has like a wholesale connect that only people who do like signs and print stuff have these. It's like this insider thing, so I don't even know the name of it or anything, so I wouldn't even be spoiling it for anyone.
Man, the way you got it there, it looks like it would work good as a mouse pad too.
Oh yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, these signs, I mean, I understand now why people struggle to have good signage at their courses, because they're not buying at wholesale pricing.
Dude, everything's expensive, and then trying to get anything shipped nowadays is even more expensive. And yeah, things are expensive nowadays. It's hard to get anything started.
Right. So like, you know, these signs, we're getting them at a price that is astronomically lower than what any normal place would get. So we did have that leg up, but I'm not complaining about it, because it just helped us, you know, go to that level, which, I mean, I was like, if we're gonna do this, I want to make sure that we can really pull it off, and it's not just like, oh, it's just some young dude and his friends who put together a disc golf course. Like, someone could just build one in their backyard, you know. So yeah, I'm excited. Like, I feel like what we did with the sponsor signs is unique in itself.
I agree. That's the best sign anyone's made for me yet. I can tell you that. So
I appreciate that.
You guys are the best in my mind there.
So I always notice, like, sponsors, if there is any sponsors at disc golf course, they'll be like very small in the bottom corner of the T sign, and it's very forgettable because it just kind of blends in with the rest of the sign. So I was like, well, one, I want to base the main T signs off of Maple Hill, because I was like, if you're trying to be number one, you gotta do what number one's doing. So that's what the setup came from. And I was like, sponsor signs, like you want, especially if you're paying money for it, you kind of want something that people can see, and it's not forgettable. So, and yeah, like I saw these and I was like, holy shit, like people are going to notice these for sure. I mean,
yeah, that's legit. Those are legit signs.
I did like all the other ones. I think we have 10, 11. I think we have 11 total sponsors right now. They're all custom to their brand and their colors and everything. But they all pop in their own way. And I'm excited to see if that maybe for example, for you, if that gets you more sales, people more interested in buying your discs or asking about it, at least like, who is this? What is this all about? Cause like, and that's the whole point, right? Like you wouldn't want to
get a conversation going.
Like yeah, exactly.
I'm not offended if anybody doesn't want them, and if they do, I'm happy. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think especially having your disc as prizes / in the future having more available for people to test throw or even buy at events is really gonna be fun, because like, I've gone to events where it's like hosted by Innova and it's just Innova plastic that you can buy there, and people go crazy. They're all digging through like, ooh, what's this? I want this, let me try this. So it's like, why not you?
Yeah, we'll see. Because I'm new and different, that's why, right? But it's the same as the tilt, but they did all the introductory work for me, so that helped.
No, seriously. Yeah. That's why I'm very excited for the Borg, because I know most people are like, I don't bag the tilt because it's collectible or because it's like impossible.
Doesn't fly, I heard.
I disagree. I know the Foundation Disc Golf guys did a video on the tilt, and they had a take where it was like, there's literally no reason why anyone should have this in their bag. And I was like, that's a strong opinion. Because I've been able to.
Right, so that is a pretty strong opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, well, one, Simon and Eagle both have used it in rounds, so like proof of concept. But I used it, and actually, it was funny enough. I used it in a CTP after a tournament round. This hole was on a hill, and it almost impossible for your disc to actually land on the hill. Like if you either hit the basket or it's going to land on the hill and roll down. So it was like, how are you going to get yours to the closest? So I threw a forehand with the tilt, and because it's so ridiculously overstable, I threw it wide. It came back towards the hill, skipped up, and almost went into the basket. It like skipped off the basket. I was the only person who hit the actual basket off the throat. And I was like, boom, reason to have a tilt in your bag.
You have to go try the same shot with the Borg.
Yeah, so now I'm like, well, if this is even more overstable, then shit. I'm like,
well, and then if you want to go 300-400 feet, just throw it upside down.
Flip it upside down. Yeah. So yeah, it should be interesting. Because I like the tilt a lot. I think I mean, I'm into weird discs. Like I bag a Sonic, I bag a Polecat. Are those the only weird discs? I mean, I putt with pigs, so like I'm a little unorthodox with my.
I don't think any of that stuff's weird.
My disc choice, but
I learned at the beginning there's 100 ways to throw a single disc. Everyone has their own style, so there is not one right way, right? And that's the thing, right? Like you could learn by watching all these videos online, and that just gets you to a certain point, because at a certain point when you want to take it seriously, you're going to have to figure out your style and what works for your body, because that's what's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's true. And like also like what keeps you interested and excited to play, because like
I use the Borg 80% of the time, and that's my main driver. So
do you always throw it upside down?
I do.
That's awesome. So I'm assuming you've gotten used to like that grip feel and everything, like having the.
I felt this. I've thrown this upside down and right side up from the very beginning. It feels the same to me either way. I hold it the same, whether it's upside down or not. So
something that I have noticed with the tilt, and I'm curious with yours, I don't know if you've had this issue. I haven't personally had it happen, but people have told me like takes on it, and I could see how it could happen, is getting like almost like blisters or like cuts on the inside of your like your thumb area when you're releasing the disc. Have you had any issues with that with your
I haven't had any issues there. The only thing I had was the first week I was throwing it right here on the ball of your thumb, because that's like your pivot point. It just gets tender, but I don't have a callus or anything, and it never broke skin. I've never broke skin on my hands using any of my discs. So
I personally just
I think the
asked
worst
that.
thing I ever got was I think I was throwing 2 hours one night and I got like a blood blister on my thumb, but that was about it. I haven't had any issues since. I think that was like within my first month of throwing though. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I more asked that because I know that that's always like a point people always say, like, well, I've tried to throw my disc upside down and blah, blah,
it'll let
blah.
you know it's there. That's how you know you threw it right. It bites back. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but it's only because your thumb is so sensitive. You never really use it for that purpose. It's like when you go to the gym for the first time and you do squats, right? It hurts on the back of your neck, right? When you're ready, and then people use that pad. It's just a spot that you're not used to, and then after a while you get used to that, right? Same thing.
No, definitely. I mean, I know people who throw forehand for the first time and they find a way where the disc like rips on their hand a little bit.
Yeah. However you can get leverage, that's what I recommend.
Yeah.
However you want to hold it.
I'm definitely excited though, because like I haven't really like delved too deep into trying to throw upside down too often. So I'm interested to see kind of how that plays, because I guess I haven't mentioned this, but my utility throw, or like my get out of jail free, if you will, throw is putter hammers, and I use them as approach shots.
I don't know what a putter hammer is.
So I mean it's just a hammer throw or tomahawk with putters. So I specifically use the Luna. I've just noticed it has like the most predictable flight pattern for the shot type I'm trying to do. So that's the only like upside down throw I really consistently use. So I use it specifically because putters don't flip over as easy as a driver. Even if it is overstable, because it's such a slow speed, it tends to catch its angle and just ride out unless you really overpower it. So it's my little like secret hack tip for anyone. Try using a putter when you're doing hammers, especially if you're like 200 to 100 feet out from the basket in a wide open space. You just throw it on the right angle. It should just sit and slide right up next to the basket. Whereas like with something like the Borg, for example, in my head, I'm thinking you throwing that on tomahawk, that thing's flipping over pretty quick, right?
It doesn't actually flip over pretty quick, and if you throw it on a thumber, it'll roll actually. So it's actually got 5 or so different flight patterns depending on the way you throw it.
See, so that's not what I would have expected. So now I'm like,
yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's not what you'd expect. That's it, and that's what's kind of hard to capture, right? Like I don't have anyone out there that I'm recording that could throw it, 7 different ways and all that stuff currently, right? So yeah, you get out when you get yours, you just go out there and experiment, and you'll see it'll fly different ways depending on how you throw it.
I should now that makes me think, when I do some of those flight reviews, I'll take that one specifically and just throw it a bunch of different ways, and
yeah,
because I think
same thing with Mr. Putt, right? So he works regular way, but a lot of people ask me why he's so flat on top, and why didn't like I round the edge or something like that. And I had it rounded, and it like normal putters are, and it didn't fly as well upside down in my testing. So I reverted it back to the more boxy look, and it's purposely designed so that it equally flies upside down or regular. So
yeah, that's cool, and that's unique because
it's a multi-use disc, right? You don't necessarily,
because like I know everyone, especially in the reviews I was reading, they were comparing the shape to a polecat, which I have one in my bag, and I can attest it's very similar in like look, but the polecat does not fly upside down the same way it flies up right side up.
Yeah, so it's completely different. Yeah.
Right. So that's like the edge. Is like, well, it may look similar, but it's deceive. Like looks aren't everything. You gotta actually like
Well,
see.
and
What
that's
it
the other
does.
thing too. You get in situations where you have for fun rounds, right? Where 2 dish challenges, or maybe your putters only, right? And now I have a putter that's multi-purpose, so it's like my advantage. That's how I look. That's why I designed that stuff that way. So when I had for fun rounds, I had secret weapons as well.
Yeah, because most people you're playing with don't have those discs in their bag, so they're like,
Yeah, exactly.
What did you just throw right
Yeah,
there?
what was that? Is that legal? I love that question.
oh yeah, that'll be interesting too, because that's what I'm excited about. Like,
Figuring
Or
out.
betting people, and then you can make some money hustling them.
Yeah,
whether it's legal or
seriously.
not.
Especially like
once I figure out where each of those discs kind of falls into my game, pulling them out in a tournament and seeing the reaction of people.
being like,
Yeah,
what?
everyone's like, "What?" Every time I throw the Borg, is like, "Did you just throw a tilt upside down?" I was like, "No, that's the Borg. Sorry."
Yeah, sorry, what?
The
Yeah,
what?
the what?
I'm curious about. I know you talked about it a little bit in our Instagram story, but so the tilt came out around the same time that the Borg.
Yeah, so the tilt, as far as I know, was PDGA approved in December of this previous year. I had been submitting and working, like, I think the first picture of the Borg I put glowing in the dark was in November last year, right? So like I didn't copy any discs. So I don't know, lightning struck me and Simon at the same time. I don't know who actually designed the tilt, if it was actually Simon or
Right.
whoever designed the tilt had the same genius idea as me, right? I feel like so. They just happened to come out at the same time. Mine failed the first time, so theirs got approved in December. I think mine was in January. My stuff failed in February or something like that, and then April is when all my stuff started getting approved.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like because it's Discmania, they probably have easier time like getting stuff approved through the PDGA.
You know what? People said no, and I give credit to Jeff and the PDGA. No, they're spot on and they're consistent, and I have no questions about the quality and they know what they're doing, and it's not easier for me or anybody else to get it approved.
You just have to meet their standard. Or
Yeah,
it's
and
not.
I had to go through the same thing as every big manufacturer that had to do so. Yeah, it's legit. And I think of it as like Forged in Fire. If you ever watch that history, yeah, where they take it, they're testing your disc. I failed so many times. It wasn't just like, yeah, overnight and go. And then you have to resubmit every time. It's not just like an easy process, right?
So what was the most challenging?
Change you had to make with your disc to get it approved.
Like what was
Well,
the one
so
thing?
at first they were too sharp, and once I had to change the sharpness and the diameter of the teleporter, it wouldn't fly anymore. So I had to refigure out a whole design on the teleporter to get it to fly again. So that was the hardest. That was the hardest disc to overcome. That was the first one of I submitted, had the most failures, and I think it was the last one actually approved. I don't remember how it fell in there, but it was one of the guns. Maybe it was the last one, but it was one of the higher up ones to be approved because I just had to redo the whole thing, go back to the drawing board, retest everything. So
Interesting. So I know you said the Borg is like the one you use the most. Other than the two that you like currently are using like the most, I guess those other 6 molds, which one would you say is the most utility? I mean like the best overall like disc. I know that I'm sure you think they're all great.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, and it's super course dependent because there's some games where I only use 3, and then there's some games I've used all 8, and then there's some games I've used 4, right? So like Fountain Hills, I tend to use like more of my disc than others, right? Because as the course changes, you need a different type of disc. It's really course dependent. But I have 8 discs that I use just like you have a bag of 8 or 10 clubs or however you would. So I look at it that way, right? But 3 disc challenge wise, I personally use Mr. Putt, Borg, and Stacks. I love Stacks. And then I use Dwayne and Sweet a lot. I'd probably say the one I use the least is Guns, and that's only because it's the most cookie cutter standard driver. It's just like every other driver, I suppose, right? no reason why I don't.
Yeah.
Some people like that's their favorite, right? Is guns, right? So it just depends on who you are.
So the guns is like shaped similarly to
I don't know.
I don't really know what it's shaped.
Driver.
It's similar. It's shaped similar to like almost every driver. Like I think even Latitude 64 posted like a meme today where it showed like distance driver, favorite driver, and like just looks like the guns, right? I don't know
Yeah.
even know what model they posted. It's just a blank disc, right? I feel like
And you're
all
like, oh, that
drivers
looks very
kind
similar
of
to
look
the
the same.
guns.
Yeah. So, and that's, I feel like that's the situations with drivers, period, is they all look the same, right? And that's,
Yeah.
I was trying not to create what's out there because people are already creating what's out there and they do that very well, right? I was trying to create stuff to enhance your game, not compete. So,
Right.
So obviously, like you've only been doing this for a year, but is there any notable players that bag your disc, or is it still kind of in the?
yes, and I'll leave it at that. I'm not one to brag or kiss and tell, right?
No,
So,
that's fine.
yeah, but yeah, I've had many notable players use them, say they bag them. I don't, I only go with what people say, but yeah, and it makes
Yeah.
I feel really good about it. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I've sold one disc. I've already accomplished the dream come true.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's-
seriously.
Yeah.
And not specifically who they are, but what do you know what disc that they're like they
Everyone has their own favorite.
really?
That's
awesome.
that's what makes
cool.
me feel really good about it, is because everyone always has one or two that they say they always like, and to have 2 of 8 be liked by any person is like really good odds, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this sea of manufacturers.
Yeah, no, seriously. It'd be cool to I mean, well, one, do you have plans of making more styles, or are you kind of sticking with the 8 that you have?
I have 2 styles in mind that I might create just to have them. But I don't really feel the need yet to create another one unless there's a specific purpose or it's a collaboration. I have another idea I want to go with this, but that's something else.
No, I was just thinking like it would, because like that's kind of how pros do their thing. They get sponsored by a manufacturer and they throw specifically that plastic. It would be interesting to see if you can if you get to that point. I know you said
I've
you're not
already
really-
sponsored a couple players locally.
Oh, really?
Just,
Nice.
just because they couldn't get into a tournament, so it's like, hey, throw my disc in the tournament. I'll pay for your entry fee, right? I right now feel like I'll sponsor players, and I'm not going to necessarily require them to use like all my discs, because they might have a driver they throw 500 feet. That's great, and then maybe they want to use mine for a utility or purposes. But
Right.
just if they're using it a few times during the round, just to get it known and just to make people understand that they're good discs and they have their uses, that's really all I'm after. I'm not trying to force people into stuff. I don't go around even to our local shops asking people if they want to sell my discs in their shop. So it's not necessarily the best sales model, but I want people to come to me and ask me, about it and have that conversation and show interest, because if they're not even interested, they're not going to try to even sell a disc or use the disc, right? So it's like, why waste my time or theirs? It's like a bad relationship. No one wants that.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to force anyone into a relationship with me. I'm here if people want to, right? That's how I look at it.
Hell yeah. I like that. I like that approach. I was just thinking, how Joe Maz just started showing like what players are throwing off the tee and stuff. It's gonna be an exciting
Moment.
That's what I'm waiting for, when
you
it just
get
says the
that.
Borg and it doesn't
Yeah.
say any flight numbers.
And someone just
Pulls
pulls
it
it
out.
out.
You're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. What is that disc? Was that a tilt? Nope, it was
did
the
he
Borg.
just
Throw that upside down?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
happening? Because like I think
It's funny
the
too,
only-
even when you throw like Dwayne doesn't look, and it's upside down, but it has a different shape and it flies different. But even when you throw that, any disc you throw upside down, people automatically say tilt right.
Right.
It's funny.
Which is cool because, well, I mean, it'll be cool when that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Where people aren't like, you're throwing a tilt. They're like, oh, because your discs are known to be thrown upside down. So
Yeah. Oh, is that one of those NSH discs? What's up
Yeah.
with that?
No, that's definitely gonna be a cool moment. I hope it happens. Like,
Well,
I
I
feel like
thought a
it's
cool
bound
moment
to.
was when I was at League the other day and I saw someone putting with a Mr. Putt that I didn't sell them, so they must have bought it at the local shop, right? Which is cool because I
Nice.
am in the local shop. I love that I'm providing, more reasons for customers to come into their shop. I'm like last I heard, I was their 5th selling product, right? So that's pretty
Oh,
good.
nice.
You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so-
Yeah, which again, proof of concept. Like you don't even have to be there, and they're selling themselves. So
but again, they're selling themselves, and it's with people who also, are interested in them, right? That's why it works.
Yeah.
I feel like the uniqueness of them and just being different. There is
That's what gets me in the door, but they have to work or else, right?
right, obviously, in which you've put the time in to make it that thing, and who knows, in years' time, how much better they'll become, through
R&D.
I'm patient. I'm patient, man. It'll be there.
So
Before I die, it'll be there.
yeah. So
I know you like obviously already are selling your discs and stuff, but how much time goes into like changing, tweaking, doing anything,
all that happened before PDGA approval. Once you get that
Gotcha.
stamp of approval, nothing can change, right?
Gotcha.
That's the specs are the specs, right? Yeah. So what's been going on since then is enhancing the settings, right? It's making sure so like they're more crisper now. A lot of the discs, like I'm on run 3 settings now, so you could definitely tell the difference between run 3, run 2, and run 1. I for sure can, right? So,
Yeah.
and then that's really what I've been working on, is just mastering my craft, right? So I think we're pretty mainstream with the way run 3 looks. I got my logos on there. The words of the discs are more legible now. That was like a big thing. People didn't like that you kind of couldn't read the words, or the graphics kind of look melty. So I kind of standardized my graphics on the standard disc now, and just kind of doing business things since launch is really what I've been
improving
focusing on.
the final look of it.
Yeah, just getting better at what I do.
So I know like you put the graphics by like in the actual style that you're printing.
They're etched in. They're etched into the disc. Yeah.
Have you tried doing any of the actual foil stamps on them before? Does that work?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, you have not seen my Instagram. Yeah, I've been practicing. I have stamps now. I have a whole stamping station. I started with Captain Ameriguns, so there's limited edition version.
Oh, okay, I did see that
Captain
one.
America
so you
shields,
have
yeah.
okay, because
And
I wasn't
then I
sure if
have,
that was
foil
someone who
stamps
did it
metallic
for you
in
or
the middle.
something. So are you planning on going down that route, or are you kind of staying with
Nope, foil stamps will be part of custom. So if you want stamps or anything other than standard, you go the custom route, right?
Hell yeah.
Any manual labor, extra stuff we got to do, it's extra $10, right, for you to customize.
I mean,
yeah, so all the foil stamps will be all part of that. And then the standard is just going to be the etched in, so the words will forever be on the disc, right? So
which is cool.
So when you do a custom that's foil stamped,
so right now foil stamps aren't there, so that's a coming soon thing. I have
Gotcha.
it all set up. I was kind of more just making sure it worked first.
right, before you
The
offer
stamps had to get shipped to me. There was problems with the stamps and themselves and things like that. So all that's being worked out. But yeah, so it'll be up there. It'll just be kind of the default stamps for now is my logo. I'm going to get the Ace Hole logo probably made into a stamp as well, because I do you have the special edition Ace Holes. Part of the money that you guys buy the Ace Hole versions goes to the Ace Hole group, so that helps support them. So it's good when people buy the Ace Hole versions, and that's also a way to get multicolor kind of a custom disc at a cheaper price. So that's why I did it that
sure.
way. But then under the custom, I kind of figure I'll do something, just like a selection of where you could, pick whatever stamps are in stock or whatever, and then if, like, for example, I work with you guys and we're doing custom discs for you and you want stamps, we'll get a stamp made for you and like stamp your disc, right? So it's just things we could work out. I'm open to collaboration and working that way.
Of course.
And then it helps make the disc look more like what people are used to when they're stamped and things like that. But
so because you mentioned like if you buy the standard, you have that etched in and it's always going to be there. When you do a custom, would you would just do a foil, or would it be like a choice of etch or foil?
So with the custom, you would choose etch or foil. So by default, it's going to be etched, and then you could choose your colors, and then you'd say, oh, do you want to change the etching in the middle? And if it's a no, then no. If it's a yes, okay, do you want a custom etching or would you want a foil? So it's just the flow chart is how I would view it that way. Yeah.
Which is sick because like just because I just went through previous to asking you, we went through we're going through Innova right now just because it was like the manufacturer who was able to get us a selection of different discs at like the fastest rate.
Because we did do an
And they're
Indiegogo.
cheaper. I get it. Yeah.
Well, this was even before I like knew that you were doing customs. We did an Indiegogo for the course because building a disc golf course is very expensive, and
I bet.
we had probably like 20 or 30 people who donated enough that one of their prizes was a custom stamped disc. So we had to kind of go through that process of like figuring out how to even do that. So but knowing that like you're doing something extra too, like no one's offering etched in anything, it's all just foil stamps. So it's cool that you have that differentiator to what you're offering or what you will
It's
be
good
offering.
to be able to have a single disc customized for yourself, right? Because the lay person just wants one disc for themselves, right? And then it's tournaments and clubs who get 150 discs, right? And
Right.
I don't know if can you get single discs from other manufacturers. I don't know.
No, they're all like minimums, and it's like, so for Innova, which I think this year is just kind of an anomaly because of like COVID and everything, and there being such a high demand, and manufacturers are trying to figure it out.
Every transport sucks, right?
Yeah, like Discraft was like, we aren't even doing any customs for anyone other than like our own tournament sponsored stuff, and even then, it's like, I think this is just a theory. I think that they kind of screwed up and they didn't they didn't get enough material at the right time, and they kind of got like left behind when everything kind of shut down and things were like very hard to get their hands on, because even their own like main molds, they've had issues with like getting them restocked and made. But like Innova was like had their list, and even their list was very select in like what I could pick from. They're like, this is what you normally could have, but the ones that are highlighted are the only ones that are available. And it was like 6 or 7 different molds. And I was like, all right, so you guys definitely have been either one, doing a ton of customs, or two, just like you don't have the resources to be giving out all these different molds and whatnot. So but yeah, even then it was like, okay, I have to order a minimum of like 100 discs, but for example, if I want to say get like a destroyer, I can't get 100 destroyers. I can only get like 20, and then I would have to get a completely different mold for the next 20, just because like
I really don't know.
Probably want to have enough to give to everybody. Yeah, you got to limit the quantities. That makes sense.
So I was
I wouldn't complain. It's them because they're the best right now, right? When you're the big dog, everyone wants your stuff.
Right. No, it was cool though, because I was like unsure what people would think. Like if we were, I guess in some tournaments you do have the option of picking different molds with their stamp for the tournament. But people were pretty excited. Like some people really wanted. So we did the R Pro Pig, a Sidewinder, a Destroyer, a Strike, and a Wraith were the 5 molds that we went with. And out of all the people, so this was for our first tournament that we ran back in July, and out of the people that played, almost every person was like, I want this mold specifically, and someone wanted a completely different one. So it was nice that we had that ability to give everyone options, and it wasn't like, this is all you're getting. So
right. Yeah.
So yeah, in the future when we do stuff with you, it'll be nice to have that ability to mix and match as well. I think that just allows people to pick what they want for their game.
Yeah, everyone wants. That's part of the fun of the disc, right? Is going out with your own discs and looking cool, I suppose. Yeah. At least that was my thought when I first started it, right? I just wasn't. I thought other people would like it too.
Yeah, definitely. So. Yeah, it'll be exciting to kind of forge down that path, and also be different in terms of like hosting a tournament and having a unique product that people aren't really giving out in player packs or what, or even just like being able to buy at an event. It just kind of like I was saying before, it just adds to the experience of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I didn't hear of a flight towel before, and when I was up at the Aspen tournament here, one of those were in my player packs, and so I was like, oh cool. Like I never, like, just learning about other companies, and then is fun. So
Yeah, like
part of the community.
I know like Trash Panda Disc Golf is another brand that I've very much like what he's doing, and he does like the flight towel with like it's like a piece of recycled disc that's like cut out and it's on the ring that you like hook it on, so you can like pick your favorite mold and it's like a piece of it on the flight towel with it. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Just like weird, you can literally take it in so many different ways.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I'm super appreciative of you hopping on here. I know you said you've never done a podcast before, but I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I've done WebExes before. This is almost like listening.
It's similar. Like
meeting or something.
I feel like
we're old-time friends and we're having a web call. That's what.
Right. Is. Yeah. I think, and that's what's interesting, like doing it through virtual as opposed to coming into the studio here. People, when they come here, we got the lights and the cameras on, and I think that adds that like experience factor of like, oh, I'm on like a show type thing, where this is more like a casual conversation.
More casual, yeah.
Yeah.
Now next time I might suck when I'm on. I'll be in person and I'll be like, oh my god. Or maybe people will be like, never have that guy on your show again. Right? Like,
well, I would say that after this, that you shouldn't have to worry about it.
Sounds good.
So I know we've talked a bunch about your brand and everything, but is there anything that we didn't talk about regarding like what you're up to that you want to share, that to add to the whole conversation?
No, not really. I think we covered it. I'm just, shirts will be up there soon if you guys want some shirts. Order some discs if you want me to keep making discs, and then that's pretty much it. I'm here for you guys.
And if you want, just plug your website, Instagram handle, where
NSHcustomdisc.com, or on Instagram and Facebook, we're Noobsim House.
Nice. And you also, for any of those gamers out there, you have a YouTube channel as well.
Oh yeah, YouTube, Noobsim House as well. And then I'm going to be streaming a little bit more racing now that I have a little more time. And then I'm going to be streaming some more NSH cardio hour. You can see some more walkthrough of Half-Life Alyx on this treadmill. So
yeah, and I can attest. I was watching it while I was at work the other day, and because you sent me the link, and I was like, "What is this?" And then once you got like into the game and started going, I was like, "Holy crap, this is so cool!"
Yeah, after I had to fix the cord that fell down,
right?
I started to get into a rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh, something fell.
Yeah. So. And then my wife was trying to help me get the cord, and I was like, I didn't even know someone was in the room. It's fun. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, for anyone who's into the VR stuff, I would definitely check it out. Maybe give you some.
Yeah, if you have questions, shoot me a line. I don't mind.
Right. Or give you some insight into maybe your own home rig setup.
And then I like this guy, I'll free plug MRTV. It's this guy I like to watch. He's out of the country. I don't know what country he's in, but I love his opinions. His opinions about VR are pretty similar to mine. He gives pretty good advice, so I recommend him as well.
Yeah. So I did have one question that this came from my business partner who couldn't be here today. I was going to have him come on the show, but he was doing something. Specifically, he had a question about like just wanting to pick your brain and opinion on just like the future of 3D printing and stuff. Now that you've built a product that utilizes 3D printing technology, I guess, what are you most excited about in terms of like how it might affect you and what you're doing? And then just like, I guess just in general, what's your thoughts on the whole 3D printing technology?
Since I'm a Star Trek nerd and I'm also a 3D printing manufacturer, I personally feel like 3D printing is the first step in creating the uh, what is it? I just lost it. The replicator.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So everyone has replicators in the ship. We get our food. We make products with it, right? It's on there. So I think this is the initial step of making the replicator. And then now I'll make the replicator, and then I'll put it on one of Elon Musk's ships on the way to Mars, right? So
Yeah. So that people can play disc golf out there in Mars.
yeah, that's right. And make chicken and body parts and whatever else they want to make out of it. Yeah.
It's definitely it's interesting. I wish I like knew more about it, and I could probably do my own research, but like just the fact that they're already kind of starting to delve into that stuff, like printing parts, body parts, and
Body
whatnot,
parts, yeah. It's amazing. I think it's a great time to be alive, honestly. Getting back to thinking and inventing again, and maybe we'll have another golden age, you know what I mean? Things like that. So
yeah, like a new age of innovation in its own sense. Yeah, it's definitely a very cool, I mean, scary and cool time to be alive.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what? I'm half full kind of guy, so
yeah,
it's always going to be scary stuff.
I feel like if you go back to any generation, you could say the same thing. There was very scary things about being alive in the turn of the century that
I remember in like 85 or 86 how much of a hoopla they were making about killer bees coming over the ocean. I was scared of bees for a long time, like, oh my god. And then I don't even remember what happened with that.
Perfect example.
Perfect example of media taking things too far.
True.
Yeah. So just take everything with a grain of salt and be excited about.
Do your own fact checking.
Yes.
Yeah, and just look into trying new stuff. I feel like hopefully this conversation sparked someone to be interested in playing disc golf,
or even sparks them to go try something they've been wanting to try, even if it's not disc golf.
Yeah, I mean, like you and I are perfect examples of people, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who can attest to this, that the pandemic kind of opened this time slot in everyone's life where trying new things almost became like a necessity.
Yeah, you got to keep yourself sane, and you got to create and make the world better. We're trying to spread joy one disc at a time. We need that nowadays.
Definitely. Okay, so this is something that we do in our show. We ask every guest this last question, and you can take it however you want. There's no right or wrong answer. So if you need
I love these.
To think of
this is like one of those Toastmasters types questions.
Yeah, so it's very like meta. I don't know how we kind of got to this, but the name of the show is BINDLISM, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. So really just bringing in themes of people doing things to help create a fulfilling life, and it's very much sounds like you're on a very upward trajectory to that. So the question to you is, what does it mean to you to be human?
What does it mean to me to be human? That's a good question. To leave this earth better than I got here. That's what it means to be human.
Nice. And I like that answer. I haven't heard that response before, but I feel like just to reflect on it, being human, we have this gift of being able to manipulate the environment around us that most other animals don't necessarily have, or if they do, it's not on the scale that
we're almost like a virus on the planet, right?
Right. So
if we're not careful, we could destroy it. So we need to leave it better than we got here or the way we found it.
Yeah.
And just because Elon's trying to go to Mars doesn't mean that we just could forget about Earth, right? So
right.
Because plenty of us that we're not going to see Mars, so
I'll be dead before that happens.
Right. So couldn't have said it better myself. Jason, I absolutely had a blast talking with you. I'm glad we could finally put names with faces and make the connection. I'm sure we'll have plenty more conversations as time goes on. But I wish you all the best. I'll be editing this over the next week or so, and I'll send you a link and everything once we're
I
all
trust
ready
you.
to
Enjoy.
post it. So awesome.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And take care and good luck in your upcoming tournament. I know you said you had one coming
Thank
up.
you.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot for 0. That's my goal. I'm going
nice.
for par.
No throws.
Yeah, just going for par. Yeah.
Awesome.
So stand on the tee box.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll send you pictures from the event this weekend with your sign.
Perfect.
And everything.
Love it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, take it easy, and we'll talk soon.
See ya.
Well, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Like Jason said, check out his website, NSH Custom Discs. He's got 8 different styles. We'll do customs. I highly recommend. I'm currently bagging 3 of his discs, and I could not be happier with how they are performing. And give him a follow at NSH Custom Discs or Noob Sim House. Jason, thank you so much for everything you're doing and for being our core sponsor. We really appreciate everything you've done for us and are doing and will do in the future, so keep it up. If you haven't already, give us a follow at Boho Hobo Lifestyle on Instagram, Twitter, and our website is bohohobolifestyle.com. I know Kyle is actually going to be recording a podcast this weekend, so stay tuned for another episode coming up in a couple weeks. Until then, keep it real and explore endlessly. Thanks so much.